Hi, and welcome to another bite-sized bat rep where we bring you great battle reports without taking up a great deal of your time. We're back with the By Fire and Sword, and today's battle report holds a special place in my heart because it's the first time that my very own figures are making it onto the table. Let's see how my Kingdom of Sweden Skirmish Forces Baptism of Dice Fire goes. My detachment force is being tested against the fearsome elite Gosiewski's Foray. I had a chance to attack with them last time, so it's only fair that now I have to defend against it. Comparing our force points, my Swedes are the weaker side by 3 points, so I end up with the forward scenario and delay one of the opposing Cossack-style cavalry companies. And due to the scenario, we ignore reconnaissance. Now this game turned out to be fast and furious, so I'll move quickly through the turns, spending some time discussing the tactics, including what worked, what didn't, and what I could have done differently. First up, let's look at my Swedes. The rapier block is the main hitting force, with the veteran arquebuss wielding rapiers, dragoons, and cannon providing mobile fire support. But the single commander will severely limit my mobility. Next, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth's Gosiewski's Foray. The winged hussars are the main hammer of this force, especially when joined by Gosiewski himself, with the rest of the skirmish acting as a screen and mop-up crew. Commanders joining elite units is particularly powerful as they inherit the stats of their host unit and provide bonuses in combat and morale tests. When joined by a commander, the best cab in the game gets even better. Let's look at the battlefield. And yeah, apologies for the shadows, lighting was less than ideal. The two forage areas were set up at the opposite ends of the field with the actual forage supplies in their respective middles. This is what the game is all about, those precious supplies which the stronger player must defend. Setting up first, Gosiewski's force was split right in half, with the mercenary contingent on the left side and the Polish-Lithuanian contingent on the right side. Both sides have a commander, so both sides will be able to operate independently. The force split is one of the things that makes the scenario worth 2 points to the weaker player. I concentrate my entire force on the right side, where I'll face only 5 defending bases and no infantry which can occupy the buildings. This is my best chance. And this is my plan in a nutshell. Run at defenders with everything I have and break through before the supporting units from the left forage area can join. The defenders deployed an open formation thanks to their elite cavalry rule, circling around that precious red foraging token. And a quick look on the left side. Note that the dragoons have kept a horse guard base which allows them to fully remain mobile. A wise move. And it begins. The PLC seized the initiative and exposed my first tactical blunder, or rather, a misunderstanding. Let's just call it fog of war. In the forward scenario, the stronger player begins with move orders on all units, and I thought that they had to keep the move orders. But of course, they don't. Gosiewski spent 2 command points to give charge orders to his hussars and Cossack-style cavalry. This is actually kind of appropriate, with the Swedish commander confident that he was surprising the foragers, only to be surprised himself by their immediate reaction and hyper-aggressive charge. In response, I throw a defend order on my main rapier body because I want to give them a chance to shoot their pistols and also give the cannon a chance to shoot. If I countercharged, the cannon would not have had a line of sight and the pistols would only get 1 shooting die per base. The PLC forces move forward and the left side moves out to support. The dragoons mount up, form a column, and all the mercenaries are speeding across the field. Will they get to the action in time? A pause before the carnage. Elite horse units, few in number but extremely confident, trot towards the enemy. Another look at the PLC gamble. At this point I'm thinking, he's throwing 2 companies, plus a commander, against my entire army. I got this. In my move, I get my veteran rapiers out of the forest, expand the frontage of the regular rapiers, and desperately try to move the dragoons out of the way. Also, because I know that the combat may end badly, I dismount them with a horse guard. I need to be able to fire salvos. My cannon opens up with case shot in the defender's fire, and I even score hits and force a panic test on the hussars. But Gosiewski spends 2 command points to boost their roll, and they pass. I would have said with ease, but they actually had to use his special reroll ability, as my opponent rolled a 10. Yep, I was 1 lucky die roll away from routing that charge. Let's go through this fast. The Hussars and the Cossack-style cavalry close ranks and crash into my rapiers, who fire their pistols in defense, causing a wound. In combat, unsurprisingly, the PLC cavalry dominates, destroying an entire base and taking only a single hit. Thanks to the building position, a couple of the charging bases were not able to connect, otherwise this would have been much worse. My morale roll is terrible, and I break outright, fleeing 20. Here is where it gets interesting. Now remember, this is still turn 1. The Hussars pursue into my Dragoons, who are unable to fully get out of the way. They fight a turn of combat, take 2 wounds, but hold, and they withdraw in good order. Dragoons may get no respect from the high and mighty cavalry, but they can sure put up a good solid defense. And the Cossack-style cavalry catches the fleeing rapiers, forcing another flight move, which takes them clean off the board. Yep, there goes the core of my forces. End of the turn. So, yeah, at this point I'm thinking that I may need to readjust, but I can also spin this as a success because there's no one defending the forage point, which, as you may recall, is the objective of the scenario. So, let's just say that my bait worked. Yeah, that's the ticket. Okay, as far as lessons learned, I should have used a defensive maneuver to slightly rotate my rapiers so that the path of pursuit would be away from my Dragoons. When setting up a defense in depth, watch for the fast cavalry which pursues 20 centimeters. They can ruin your day unless you can channel them. Turn 2. I win initiative, but I give it to the Polish-Lithuanian side because I need to respond to their moves. They push on the left side, declaring a charge with the rapiers. They are much too far to connect this turn, of course, but they can move 30 centimeters instead of 20, as long as they can make their skill tests. It's a gambler's move and a perfect fit for Gosiewski's style of play. The Hussars charge my Dragoons in the open, who are now fully dismounted. Not ideal for infantry, but it's a close charge with no impact bonus, so I do have a fighting chance. Oh, and Gosiewski was able to reorganize the Hussars for 2 command points, removing the 2 wounds, so that unit is back to full strength. Ouch. Meanwhile, my crafty veteran rapiers keep the eye on the ball and move towards the forage supplies. Go get it. On the other side, the PLC mercenary rapiers complete their charge, fail to connect, and make the skill test. Gamble paid off this turn, and they can keep on charging on the next turn. The cannon K-shots its closest target, the Cossack-style cavalry, causing some damage, and the Hussars destroy 1 Dragoon base. In return, however, they do lose a base of their own, thanks to the defensive salvo and close combat. I have to tell you, those Armor 7 Hussars are hard to kill. They win combat and force my Dragoons off the table. The aftermath. I can just picture my colonel, looking around nervously, saying, I have them right where I want them, and his aide, Lieutenant Kip, just rolling his eyes. Turn 3. The important part is that those rapiers are more than 20 centimeters away from my forces, so I know that I can maneuver out of the way. Time to collect the bounty. My vets move in to the forage area and destroy the supplies. 1 down, 1 to go. The Hussars reposition after dispersing into open order, and the Cossack-style cavalry has no order, so it just sits there. Gosiewski, attached to the Hussars, cannot command them. The PLC rapiers keep charging, and my colonel joins his only remaining fighting unit. PLC cavalry is just too far away to connect. The Dragoons are still marching in a column. No rush. Take your time, guys. My cannon fires its last K-shot at the remaining Cossack-style cavalry, causing a hit and routing them. The mercenary rapiers finish their charge, but failed the skill test, losing the charge order. Finally, they pushed their luck too far, but note how quickly they got across the field. It's an interesting tactic. They're then forced to withdraw, and up top, my unit just moves out of the way, hoping to circle to the other side. You can almost see those burning supplies as the Swedes march out. And the remaining Hussars get a chance to charge order, hoping to mop up that cannon. Charge moves up, lines up in open order, but the cannon got a chance to fire before contact, causing a wound and taking off another base. However, the rest of the combat is a foregone conclusion. The crew is mercilessly cut down before fleeing into the woods. This ends turn 4, and we decide to call the game. We were running out of time, and it's unlikely that much would change in the last 2 turns. My forces were too far to make it to the other forage point, and the PLC forces were too far from my rapiers to be able to charge and cause more casualties. So, let's tally all of this up. First up, the scenario. 1 supply point was destroyed, which gives me 2 points. And now the losses. As you can see, even though most of my force was off the table, the vast majority of them fled instead of being destroyed. This is great because even with the Swedish special rules, it counts for far less. At the end, I just barely scraped in with heavy losses, giving me no points, and the PLC suffered the upper end of acceptable losses, giving them 1 point. Total this up to 2 for the Kingdom of Sweden versus 1 for Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which is a draw. So even though the field clearly belonged to the PLC after the battle, they ended up losing half of their forage supplies and lost 2 out of 3 destroyed bases in their entire elite units. The Swedes, let's say, executed a tactical withdrawal after partially achieving their strategic objectives, or that's how I'll phrase it in a letter to my commanding officer. Hope you enjoyed this fast and furious battle. If you like what you see from the system, check out their website. See you next time on Bite-Sized Bat Reps.